Everybody says Randy, known as Randy Wild Horse, and just about an old friend of my mother's as well as myself. Her name was Betty Mae Motl, MOTL. She was born May 2nd, 1930, in Mahnomen, Minnesota, and she recently left on March 13th of this year. Betty, ladies and gentlemen, was a very nice lady. At first, had to put my mother, Shirley, in the rest home. Betty was the first one that said hello to me. And not only that, she welcomed us to her table. And what she said she liked about me is, unlike a lot of people where they always asked her what she ate for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, she said she liked about me because I talked about other subjects besides that. Thank you, Betty. A lot of times she'd invite me to her room and we would, chat about things about the past life of mostly a lot for my mother, what she used to do when she was little. Betty was a big fan of Shirley Temple's, and so was my mother. They were both big fans of Shirley Temple. And Betty had an old picture of herself. When she was little, she looked like Shirley Temple. She actually did. Yes. And after a while, as she let us in her room and she'd hold, I'll show you, this video camera here. She'd hold this video camera while I do old pictures of me talking about my mother who was next to me who had Alzheimer's in a wheelchair. My relatives will not want me to show the pictures because they will get upset. And that's how they feel. That's okay. Well, anywho, Betty was a very nice lady. Really, she was. She invited us to her table, always cared about a resident who always had to get up and use the restroom. Poor guy couldn't help it. Yeah, she didn't have people come to her table, and she'd get mad about people starting arguments a lot and stuff like that. And like I said, she didn't invite us to her room, and I even told her once, I said, I just wish, Betty, you and my mother could be put together with your knowledge and your language to my mother that had to be in the wheelchair. My mother would have been home with me. Betty was, of all the residents, Betty was by far the most intelligent. She knew about every resident there, basically. She knew, who had visitors and who didn't. And there's one nurse, she'd call her a pill, because there's one nurse that always gave me a hard time, and she didn't like it. And I thank you, Betty, for that. As far as that nurse is concerned, no. This nurse, I'm not going to say the person's name. Person does do a good job, but this person is a real grouch. I'm not going to say names. No. But Betty called her a pill, and that was funny. Sure, Betty didn't hate her. Don't get me wrong. Betty didn't actually hate her. No. Betty just said at times she was just too much of a grouch. And that's it. Yeah, she talked about certain residences who'd never get visitors, which was too bad, like I said. Oh, she'd say like, that she'd wish she could go outside again and do things. The only time she ever go anywhere is to the dentist in Motley. She had this tooth that hurt her real bad for, I think, a month and a half, and finally she got to go to the dentist. The poor thing, she would say, Randy, I just can't sleep. I got to go to the dentist. Can't you tell my eyes are really tired? I said, yes, Betty. You can, yeah. She says, I wish and she finally did, and she slept again. Yeah. He gave her some stuff. Gave her that old telephone. It's on my YouTube video someplace, and yeah, I guess she wanted to be nice to a resident. I think she felt sorry for the resident. She gave it to him. Well, that's fine. I felt she needed a phone because her one phone she had didn't work that good, and well, we gave her one, you know. But she was, very nice. Always let my mother and I in the room, like I said, and she took videos. But I've said that before, but I can't show the videos. I'm sorry, I can't. Betty was a very nice lady. Should have been a friend of my mother's for sure. Easily would have been a friend. I'm sure they would have watched Shirley Temple shows together, and yeah, they. Oh, Betty loved cooking. My mother didn't really like cooking because my dad, he'd always want my mother to cook him a meal fit for the a big king, Well, okay, I'll get back to Betty. Sorry about that. But Betty Motl, I'll tell you, I thank you. I really do, to the bottom of my heart. See, that's why I wore this hat, because sometimes, Betty would like, of all the hats I have, I think Betty would like this hat the best because this looks like back in the 30s. Yeah, I'm sorry I can't explain about Betty better. I know Betty could never get up and walk. She wished she could. And oh yes, and she had a TV set in her room, and well, she didn't watch TV anyway. She says, "Oh, Randy, we have cable TV. That's nice, but they put on the same old shows all the time." She says, "I like Gunsmoke and Bonanza, but I can only watch so much of it. I've seen the reruns 100 times at least." And you can't blame her. And she hated a lot of today's shows. She said it was, too vulgar and too much people, people should, you know, really keep their clothes on. That's what she said. And a lot of it, I do agree. And she was nice to my mother, and she said good night to me. She'd always say good night to my mom, and my mom would say good night back. She heard her talk once, and I was going to show her some of the videos of my mother, but, I guess she'll have to do that elsewhere. So sorry I can't say an obituary about Betty very well. Sorry about that to the Motl family. But to Betty's children and nieces and nephews and the relatives, my heart goes out to all of you. And Betty, so long. So long, Betty.